Actually, just going off there right there, you've developed a course called Holistic Health Mastery Certification course.
Yeah.
Within that, the word Holistic Health Master, what does it mean to be a Holistic Health Master?
It basically means that you're looking at your health holistically. You're looking at all the pieces on the chessboard of your life, and then you're organizing it in a way that makes sense to you, step by step, and then that leads to mastery, right? And mastery of your own diet, mastery of your own health practice. Not what someone else said, but through your experience, through your own approximation of what mastery is and what it could be based on the strategies that you've laid out in front of you and you've taken action on. It's like mastery in anything, right? You start as a beginner and then one day you become a winner, right? It's that kind of idea. And so that's what that means to me.
Yeah. So just going off there with mastery, could you share the link between mastery and alchemy? And what is alchemy?
Alchemy is basically, it has two fundamental perspectives. There's the physical science of alchemy, which is more the origination of our modern day chemistry, our modern day theory of physics, science, even astrology to some extent fits into that. It's our modern day, it's the ancestral lineage of modern day science actually. And then there's also the spiritual perspective of spiritual metamorphosis, spiritual transformation. And the whole idea of alchemy is actually mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Those are the four tenets that govern the alchemical path or the alchemical process. What the alchemical process ultimately is a transformation within the alchemist that leads to a transformation in the substance or the concoction that alchemist is creating. For example, a lot of us have heard the Philosopher's Stone from like the Harry Potter series. That whole thing is based on like alchemical perspectives, right? Magic, magicians, sorcerers, scientists, wizards, right? That kind of thing. Chemists. So what is going on there is that the alchemist actually had to have an inner spiritual breakthrough in order to break through a scientific discovery, right? That was the idea of it. And nowadays, alchemy is just considered, there's two different like really inappropriate considerations. One coming from the scientific perspective, which is, alchemy was just some arbitrary, barbaric, or some kind of uncivilized form of, pseudoscience, right? That's what they think, right? Even though they have no idea what alchemy really is, clearly. And then there's the other one that comes from more of the science or more of the spiritual community, where they believe that alchemy was a metaphor. They think that alchemy was just a metaphor for like spiritual ascension. It has nothing to do with any kind of practical science. It's just, it was just a metaphor. Because the Philosopher's Stone essentially was the vehicle for everlasting life, for immortality, right? It was the physical substance that was created out of that metamorphosis that would grant the alchemist, when the alchemist was ready, kind of like King Arthur pulling out the sword from the stone. When he was of noble consciousness, pure-hearted consciousness, and sincerity, he pulled the sword out of the stone. Nobody else could do that. Kind of the idea we're talking about, when the alchemist was of conscious aptitude, he was able to create the longevity elixir. Nowadays, we might call that an infusion, which is where you take an herb, put it in water, put it out in front of the sun overnight, or over the lunar cycle, the moon and day cycle, right? Or you create a decoction, right? Which is basically like heating up tea, as what a decoction is, or a tincture, herbal preparation. Those are all forms of alchemy, right? Pharmaceuticals are really bad herbalism, they're really bad alchemy. Because what's going on with the materialistic scientific view, which is what, it's what the allopathic perspective is all about, is it's all material, no spiritual. It's all material, no wisdom, no spiritual. So they're isolating little substances that come out of plants that you would get all the cofactors out if you actually did like an herbal preparation. They're taking an isolated compound out of it, and then they're synthesizing it with chemicals, and then they're selling that to you, and that's all material. It's void of any wisdom whatsoever that was in the plant, and then that's causing imbalances in the body, right? That's kind of the idea, is that in order to actually activate longevity characteristics, we have to bring those two things together. We have to have the physical and spiritual united. Otherwise, we're going to be at a spiritual crossroads. There's going to be a bifurcation that happens where we're either going off we're hitting the guardrail, or we're going into paradise, right? Heaven or hell on earth. And that's kind of the metaphor that that's being presented to us, because we've exacerbated this whole materialistic, mechanistic, Newtonian viewpoint, and we have abandoned all remnants of our actual spiritual ancestry, which is what alchemy is pretty much about.
So, what are a few ways someone today can embrace alchemy in their life?
Well, first of all, the metabolic process, metabolism, is it's a biological alchemical process.
Yeah.
You're eating a food that looks one way, it's getting broken down and then distributed into its particles, distributed through the body into either building material, material for energy, or biological waste. And when it comes out the other end, it looks completely different, right? It's mostly bacteria that comes out also. But that's an alchemical process, right? So getting into living foods, I think ultimately getting into green vegetable juice is one of the most powerful ways to activate the inner alchemical process. And then getting into herbalism, getting into tinctures, getting into decocting